YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Today I'll be ranking the top 10 secondaries in the NFL for the 2022 season. We're going to talk about more than 10 teams, though. We're going to talk about a few teams that just missed the cut, and then we're going to talk about a sleeper secondary as well. So excited to go through these rankings here. We got a bunch of other ranking videos on the channel. More to come. Always talking with you guys on Twitter during live games, even these preseason games. So check us out on Twitter, news, rumors, updates, and more on there. Like, subscribe to notifications on full NFL coverage. Cannot wait for our in-season videos, including our pick'ems. Can't wait. Here's our Twitter. Yep, always keeping you guys up to date. What's to come? A lot of news, rumors, a lot of cuts going on this time of the year, talking during live games as well. So make sure you follow that. Super followers get bonus content, bonus rankings, and more. So it's about that sleeper team. I like the Bears as actually a sleeper secondary here. They didn't make the top 10, but I think people think the Bears, maybe predicting them to be one of the worst teams in football this year, but I like the secondary a little bit. I happen to see Pro Football Focus's secondary rankings, and they had the Bears all the way at the bottom, like second to last. I think that's way off. I think they're probably in that top 15 range, maybe around 15. I think they got a solid corner duo in Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon. I really like that Kyler Gordon draft pick. Obviously, it's to be determined. We haven't seen him play yet. He's supposed to make his debut in preseason week 2 here. Jaquan Brisker, I love that pick. I was pretty high on him. I like his ability to move around a bit. We actually saw that in that first preseason game. So then they got a stud, strong safety that can almost line up as a weak side linebacker at times, just make plays all over the place. And Eddie Jackson started his career off pretty damn strong. Went downhill a little bit. Maybe he could revive it a little bit here under Matt Eberflus, new defensive coach there. I don't think Eddie Jackson's going to get any worse than what he's been. I think he possibly stays the same, and I think he could get better, maybe get back on track. Tavon Young, who they got from the Ravens, slot corner, and then Thomas Graham, who when he had to fill in last year, was a rookie last year, looked pretty solid. So you see some key depth guys. Kindle, I'm blocking a little bit, but Kindle Vildor's played a bit for them. Dane Cruikshank, a solid backup strong safety, good for covering tight ends. So I think the Bears got a decent group here that really doesn't get talked about enough, and because they're the Bears and people aren't expecting much from them this year. So that's my sleeper, and I have 3 teams that just missed the top 10. Colts are 1. I like the corner group mainly with Gilmore and Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore, we have him listed as nickel back there, but he also can play on the outside. We know Gilmore's solid. Maybe not quite as good as he was before all the injuries, but still very solid. Brandon Faison probably expected to start either him or Isaiah Rodgers at that other cornerback spot. Just Faison, wherever Gus Bradley goes, he goes, and he seems to get on the field. Safety's looking pretty strong. Nick Cross, the rookie, Julian Blackmon, who was solid before his injury, which he had last year. And they got some guys that can play in terms of key depth. So the Colts, mainly, I think what holds them up is Gilmore and Kenny Moore, and that probably what keeps them, even though it's a solid group, probably what keeps them from being top 10 material, which they're not far off. It's why I had to talk about them in this as a just miss. But, yeah, maybe they kind of got 2 guys holding them up. They got other solid guys. Blackman's been very solid. I think Cross will be solid. But just missed the cut. But excited to watch that new group, new defensive coordinator. A rival, Tennessee Titans, they just missed the cut. Their defense played outstanding last year. I do think it's more so because they're front 7, but their secondary is pretty strong as well. Christian Fulton had a breakout year last year, very solid. The other cornerback spot's a little bit of a battle. Caleb Farley, who has all the potential and talent in the world, just cannot stay healthy. But it's only been 1 year in the NFL, but he's had a history of injuries, but he could be very good if he's healthy. But Roger McCreary, the rookie from Auburn, who we have listed as key depth, could sneak in and kind of take that spot. Could play in a slot, but I really like Elijah Molden. Elijah Molden is about to be a very good slot corner. He kind of already is after playing only 1 year. Amani Hooker's a very solid, strong safety, and Kevin Byard, maybe not only the best free safety, maybe the best safety in football, big-time playmaker, so that definitely helps there. They need some young corners to step up, though, for them to be top 10, but they are definitely borderline. I like that group. I love the way that defense played. And the last team that just missed is the Rams, which is a tough one because it is kind of getting carried a bit by Jalen Ramsey, who is the very best in football, so it's good to have him. David Long Jr. projected him to step up at the other corner spot where they lost Darius Williams. Safety's a tough projection because right now they have Fuller listed on their initial depth chart. They have Fuller listed as strong safety, Nick Scott at free. I guess they really don't have I think the Rams are one of those teams where it's just they have 2 safeties. They don't really assign an exact role, but Fuller is best kind of in the back end, reading the quarterback, being a playmaker. To me, he's a free safety, and that's where he'll get most of his snaps, and I think he'll start there. And Taylor Rapp is solid. That's a key depth piece, but Nick Scott was playing 100% snaps down the stretch in the Super Bowl, so I do think they like Nick Scott as well. But Fuller, before he got hurt, he was such a good playmaker in the back end there. So, and they get Troy Hill back, who was known as one of the better nickel backs in football. Went to the Browns, still solid, but now back home with the Rams. Feel pretty good about him. It's a solid group, but it is kind of getting carried by Ramsey. But I do like some of the depth pieces. I like Rapp. I thought he'd be a little bit further along than where he is now, but he could break out anytime. Terrell Burgess, I liked him at Utah, kind of a slot guy, known as a safety, but more of like a slot guy. Option behind Troy Hill, an option behind those other safeties. And then Jacoby Durant, and they have Darion Kendrick as well. A couple of rookies that could step up. Maybe battle David Long Jr., Robert Rochelle for that other cornerback spot there. So the Rams just missed. If you had the nitpick, it's maybe because there's a guy carrying the group a little much. And I did factor in depth a lot for a lot of these teams, because a lot of teams are, and I like the depth of the Rams, but a lot of teams are playing 6 DBs. That's kind of where college is heading, and now the NFL is heading, because these quarterbacks just air the ball downfield, and there's so many damn weapons. You'll actually see at least 5 DBs out there at once. It's crazy. So depth is pretty key. Number 10 is going to be the Bengals. Chidobe Awuzie had a fantastic season, which I liked him out of Colorado a lot. It just took him a little bit to get going, and he had a fantastic season for the Cincinnati Bengals last year. So I think he continue off that. It's a really good scheme over there. Eli Apple picked it up a little bit last year, but that's a spot where they could get better. Maybe one of these young guys kind of steps up, takes some of his snaps. But Eli Apple played all right last year. Safety group is solid. Von Bell at strong safety. Jesse Bates, if he plays, they have Daxton Hill kind of waiting in the wing there. But Jesse Bates, who's holding out, is one of the very best free safeties and playmakers in all of football. And then Mike Hilton is one of the very best. I think it's Mike Hilton versus Kenny Moore. And Kenny Moore sometimes plays outside. So I'd say the best true slot corner in football to me is Mike Hilton. He can do it all. He can blitz. He's very instinctive. So got to factor in Mike Hilton. He really helps the Bengals' case when ranking the secondaries here. A couple rookies, Daxton Hill, who can play pretty much every position. They're working him in at free right now while Bates is absent. Cam Taylor-Britt, who's played in his career both safety and corner. I like him as a key rotation corner here, the rookie from Nebraska. They have Trey Flowers as well. But those 2 rookies, very, very key depth there. So I like the Bengals at number 10. They do a really good job coaching this group too. Very good job. I like that we've talked about, I like that they mix up their coverages. There's so many teams that's like they run man so much that we know they're going to be in man. There's teams that run cover 3, we'll say so much, so you know they're going to be in cover 3. The Bengals, you never know what they're going to be in. They're switching it up constantly. I love that about that defense. Number 9, we're going to go with the Dolphins at 9, which is a very good one. In my head before making this video, I was like, yeah, this team's top 3, this team's top 3, this team's top 3. Wait. I got way too many. I got way more than 3 that feel like top 3 or top 5 teams. There's just so many good ones. The Dolphins coming at 9, though, but even though it's very good, love the cornerback duo of Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. Howard, one of the best playmaking corners in football. These guys are very good in man coverage. A lot of cover 0 in Miami, which is really no help in the back end, so the corners are kind of left on an island. It's a tough gig to play cornerback for the Miami Dolphins, so you have to have some good ones. They have it. Brandon Jones at strong safety. It's a solid blitzing safety. Hopefully could develop further more than that. Could be Eric Rowe in that spot, and they go with the young guys. They want to have those blitzing safeties. Javon Holland is already on the, kind of on the fringe of becoming a star safety. I think he will be. Maybe not, maybe a couple more years before where everyone's kind of saying as a star safety, but he's definitely heading in that direction. It's kind of a do-it-all guy. Can play free, has the range in the back end, could blitz. Can play in a slot. He could line up at corner if he wanted to. Nick Needham is their nickel back. And then some depth. Maybe not the best depth besides Eric Rowe. You got another Oregon guy, Rome McKinley. Do they get him in there? Would Holland have that Oregon duo there at times? Maybe. But yeah, pretty strong all the way around. They're in at number 9. Number 8 is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like the cornerback duo, Carlton Davis, Jamal Dean, just about staying healthy. Obviously, I think Carlton Davis maybe was a little bit better 2 years ago versus last year. But yeah, these guys got to stay healthy, but it's a very good cornerback duo. Really good at attacking the ball underneath. Safeties, Mike Edwards, strong safety, could blitz a bit, kind of filling that Jordan Whitehead role, which Edwards already played a bit. And Antoine Winfield Jr., one of the best young safeties in football, big-time playmaker, and he kind of move around a bit as well. Sean Murphy-Bunting, a solid slot corner. Logan Ryan kind of could fit in anywhere, too. He could be in that nickel spot. He can play either of those safety spots. Obviously, Winfield's for sure starting at the free. Keanu Neal, who kind of could play strong safety / weak side linebacker. And then a rookie Zion McCollum, who could be sneaky, a very good athlete there. So Tampa feels like it's got a pretty balanced group for the most part. It's just really about staying healthy. Number 7, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns, another group I like a lot. Felt like, top of my head is the top 3 group, right? But I got so many teams that feel like top 3s. Very good cornerback duo, Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome's legit. He's legit. He's a lockdown corner. It's the only thing with him is he's got to stay healthy. We see him have these minor injuries pop up at Northwestern and the first year at the Browns, where he missed a few games here and there, but he is extremely talented. You can kind of mix and match some of these guys. Grant Delpit, strong safety, who kind of started there at the end of the year when Ronnie Harrison was hurt. You could plug Ronnie Harrison in this spot. You could plug Delpit in that nickelback spot because he can play in a slot as well. But I think they go Delpit strong. Free safety John Johnson, who's very solid, used to be with the Rams. And then Greedy Williams could play in that nickel role, but does kind of give you more outside corner vibes. And they have Ronnie Harrison, who's capable of starting that strong safety role. Martin Emerson, who had a good first game in the preseason, which I liked him a lot on Mississippi State, physical corner. And they have A.J. Green as well. So it's a pretty good group all the way through here. Want to see these safeties step up a little bit more in a perfect world there, maybe to be number 1. But, I like this Browns group. Definitely helps. They have Myles Garrett getting after the quarterback to kind of create plays here. 6, I'm going to go with the Broncos. Patrick Surtain, which I think is he's on his way to being an elite corner already. I think he's going to be known as elite. I think he's going to be known as elite after this year. Very good in man coverage. I think the Broncos will kind of mix in a little cover 4 too, which I think Surtain just fits so well. So I'm really excited about him. And I think Darby kind of fits this newer defense, even though Vic Fangio was a fantastic defensive coach. It's just an insane amount of man coverage. And they're going to keep some man because they have the guys to do it. Surtain, Simmons is a really good free safety in a man scheme. I think they're going to implement a little bit more zone. Again, I think cover 4, we got to wait and see. But I think Darby fits more of a zone defense, so that's fantastic for him. Needs to stay healthy. Kareem Jackson, solid, strong safety, good coming up, attacking the ball underneath. Justin Simmons, one of the very best free safeties and playmakers in all of football. They had Kwan Williams from the Niners, who's been a very solid nickelback, and they have a few good depth options. Caden Stearns, the safety. Damari Mathis, I like that draft pick from Pittsburgh. And then O.J. Mudia, who's got some starting experience, so it's good to have him as a depth piece at the cornerback position. So I like this group. I guess you could say it's held up mainly by Surtain and Simmons, but those are some star players there, and they got some other good pieces. Out of the top 5, I got the Green Bay Packers at 5, and this starting group is very, very solid. The depth is where they get hurt a little bit. Depth isn't everything when ranking the secondaries, but when these top 5 teams are so damn close, that could be the difference. And teams are running with at least 5 DBs these days, like we said, because these quarterbacks with their ability to throw downfield, a collection of receivers spreading it out. The teams are starting, it's kind of like college has been doing the last couple of years. NFL teams starting to gear towards we're running at least 5 DBs out there. I've seen some teams with 6 last year especially. I've seen the Bengals do it, seen the Titans do it, and those are 2 really good defenses as well. But yeah, the Packers got a really good starting group here. Jair Alexander is one of the best in football. Obviously, good to have him back. Eric Stokes had a phenomenal rookie year. I think Stokes and Douglas are pretty interchangeable. I think we'll see them flipped at times. But Douglas had a really good year last year. We'll see if he can kind of feed off of that. Adrian Amos, one of the best strong safeties in football. Savage could step up a little bit, but we see the upside there. And the depth is, out of all the teams we're going to talk about in this video, they are the worst in terms of the depth. But they got such a strong starting group. And if somebody goes down, maybe that hurts a little bit. But it's good they have 3 starting corners there on that team. So we'll see if they pick somebody up or if they're active these next couple weeks before the season starts, because the starters, great. They could use a couple key depth pieces there, but I really like the Packers group. I really like their defense. I mean, one of the best defenses in football this year. Number 4, we're going to go with the Chargers. A deep group here. There's guys not even listed that could contribute. Rookie like JT Woods, multiple guys there. obviously, but they got guys that were kind of starting or playing an insane amount, kind of getting pushed down the board a little bit because they got that much better. They had J.C. Jackson, one of the best playmaking corners in football. Asante Samuel, who's a playmaking corner, should really step up this year. Derwin James, one of the very best strong safeties in football. Nasir Adderley's a spot, or maybe they can get a little bit better, but they got guys that can rotate in that spot. J.T. Woods, Gilman's a solid safety. Is he a true free safety, though? But Adderley, who did step up a little bit last year, could take another step up. Bryce Callahan was a phenomenal nickel back there. Michael Davis, who has starting experience, can play outside, could play in the slot. He'd be a starter on a lot of teams. Devon Campbell, who played like 50% snaps last year, probably be a starter on a lot of teams. And Alohi Gilman, who played a bit last year, kind of a safety that can move around a bit. And again, they got a number of other guys out there as well. So this is one of those teams I keep talking about throughout this video that teams are kind of starting to gear towards playing. You might see them run 6 DBs, one less linebacker out there just to, deal with the deep ball and all the receivers. The Chargers are one of the teams gearing up to do that. Why? Because what division they play in, mainly a team like the Chiefs, it makes a lot of sense. How the Bengals dealt with them in the AFC Championship game. So the Chargers are going to use these bodies, and they have some good bodies in there as well. So excited about that group. They are number 4. Number 3 is going to be the Baltimore Ravens, who were, they were at 1 for a bit, maybe. Well, the cornerback duo has always been 1. They still maybe 1 for that. Marlon Humphrey, who was maybe a little bit better a few years ago, but still a big-time lockdown corner. I think they're going to run a little bit more zone. So we'll see how that affects the corners. They were a lot of man coverage and cover 0, which is no help over the top, which is one of the hardest roles for a corner. So maybe their job's a little easier, but there are some corners that are just plain and simple better at man than zone. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. But I like Humphrey a lot. Marcus Peters has been one of the better playmaking corners in football for the last, I don't know how many years. Good to see him healthy. Hopefully he stays healthy. That's why they got Kyle Fuller, though, that key backup corner. That maybe could play. Maybe he can play a little nickel back as well. He's more of an outside guy, though. So that's a key depth piece, rotation piece there. Chuck Clark and Kyle Hamilton, pretty interchangeable. I think they're going to use 3 safeties. We see them move on from Tavon Young for a reason that they want to use a safety in that role. Chuck Clark's that strong safety / box type guy, so he can be up in the box. Kyle Hamilton can play free, strong. You see him kind of in the slot, manning up with tight ends, or in the slot, just let him do his thing, read where the ball's at, so it's going to look a little bit like this. But Chuck Clark, Kyle Hamilton, but Marcus Williams, they add that big-time free safety in there. Yeah, curious to see how he looks away from that Saints scheme, but it's a big piece that the Ravens added there. They want more coverage guys. They haven't had those coverage safeties. They got them now with Williams and Hamilton, and Clark definitely playing a part in that. So I'm very curious to see how they look. They have Fuller. They have Brandon Stevens. Stevens can play corner or safety. And they have Tony Jefferson as well. I wonder about Geno Stone, because Geno Stone was very good at Iowa. He's been hanging around the Ravens, playing a little bit. But remember, Iowa's known for they have really good DBs, but they are known for college football zone coverage. And the Ravens will be going from more man to a little bit more zone. So that could watch out for a guy like Geno Stone perhaps as well. But they come in at 3. We're on to the big top 2. We got the New Orleans Saints at number 2, who they are deep. They are very deep, and they got some studs in there as well. Obviously, Marshawn Lattimore, I liked how he stayed consistent last year in the past. We've seen him play like elite, best corner in football for half the year, and then it's kind of an average corner the second half of the year. I thought he's been a lot more consistent and easily a top 10 corner in football. Paulson Adebo, I liked that pick a lot last year, and he played very, very well for them in year 1, which is a little earlier than expected. So having that solid young player there in his second year could be a playmaker type. They had Tyrann Mathieu, one of the best strong safeties in football, also could play in the slot, could blitz. It's just fantastic. They lose Marcus Williams, but I think overall the secondary is better. And Marcus May, who I like, injured last year, 2 years ago, he played lights out. Another guy that can move around a bit as well, but the Saints are so good with these DBs. I think Marcus May is going to go back to playing, if he's healthy, back to playing how he was, which is really good football. I don't think they're going to miss Marcus Williams, even though he's a fantastic player. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is one of the better slot guys in football. Again, you can put Matthew here. They have Bradley Roby, who's a very solid corner. Alontae Taylor, which I love that draft pick from Tennessee. I think he has the ability to play early on, whether it's corner, safety, in the slot. P.J. Williams has been big for them in the slot. They also have Daniel Sorensen, who he seems to be a player that kind of gets ripped a lot, but he's been a solid, underrated, solid player overall with the Chiefs, back with Matthew. So they have another piece like that as well. The Saints got the starters. They're strong everywhere. They coach these guys, develop them very well, and they are deep. So I love the Saints secondary. I love their defense in general. And then number one, I got to go with the Buffalo Bills. It's a really good group here. We saw it last year as well. They have the best safety duo in football, and that was the key piece. See all these teams with their good defenses. What's the key piece? It's like, oh, it's that edge group, or it's their corners, or it's their, they got that interior lineman that gets crazy pressure or stuffs to run. The Bills, their defense started with that safety duo of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. Just a really, really good duo that they play so well together too. You see them, sometimes you see them just split safety, like neither free or strong, and then sometimes you see Hyde making a play in the back end, Poyer up, underneath, and it's really fun to watch. And they have Tre'Davious White, who's one of the better corners of football. The only flaw here is White going to miss a little bit of time. How's the injury? But one of the better corners of football, Kyer Elam, finally got the other big-time corner opposite of White. And Elam looked pretty good in that first preseason outing. I think he's going to do a fantastic job with them. Taron Johnson's one of the better nickelback guys. He's a playmaker there. True slot guy. Fantastic player. So this is a balanced group with some stars on it at the same time. Then you have Dane Jackson, who's capable of starting that Elam spot. You have Christian Benford, which I love. That was a sneaky pick. I love that pick from Villanova. Big corner, physical. He can play in that Elam spot. And then Saron Neal, they get creative with him as well. And they kind of have a guy, DeMar Hamlin from Pittsburgh last year, I liked a lot. And he fits how the Bills use their safeties, a lot of split, a lot of cover too. He fit that so well. So I'd watch out for that guy maybe stepping up as well. So it's balanced. It's got stars. They've played well. They're maybe the top secondary RB last year, definitely the top safety duo. And they got depth. So this is my favorite group for sure. But a lot of these teams were so damn close. Like I said, when I was doing this, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this team's top 5 or top 3. This team. And I end up with like 9 teams that that doesn't make any sense. So they're just so good. So, really enjoyed doing this one, kind of breaking down how these teams would look. Let me know your thoughts, your rankings in the comments. You guys are already kind of playing that game on Twitter there, so check it out. Follow us on Twitter, some bonus content there. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Full NFL coverage here at the Goat House. We much appreciate if you can join us. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.